Man, Mets therapy, game one recap. The Dodgers win 9-0 over the New York Mets. So that is what a first place team that won 90 plus game looks like, apparently. I was wondering if the Mets were going to see one of those this playoffs. Man, the Dodgers, they just flat out dominated the Mets tonight. In every way, shape, and form, every facet of the game, they outplayed the Mets. Obviously, from a pitching standpoint, Senga goes an inning and a third, gives up 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 of them in the first 4 batters. Some of these pitches were non-competitive too, which is probably your most concerning part about what his impact will be the rest of the series. And the Dodgers continue their streak to 33 consecutive scoreless innings against the New York Mets. Not all of them against the Mets, obviously 24 coming to end the Padres series, but they've found a bit of a groove. The lineups, the Mets got 6 base runners tonight, really never threatened. Even in an inning where they look like they might get something going, down 6-0, they get a single from Winker and then a single from Iglesias, and Winker, for some reason, is not cautious enough on the bases and gets thrown out at third base in a run that would have meant nothing. Defensively, the Mets made 2 errors. The Padres had 2 really nice plays. One being obviously that play where Kike Hernandez deked Jesse Winker to throw him out at third. And then the Teoscar Hernandez play, reaching over in left field into the stands to I think it was Nimmo that hit that pop-up. And look, Kevin Kiermaier still getting it done on that Marte fly ball. So, defensively, they outplayed them. They were taking extra bases on the bases, whereas the Mets were getting themselves out on the bases when they didn't necessarily need to. Offense, defense, pitching, base running, maybe even coaching. The game plan was very sound by the Dodgers tonight in that they weren't going to chase. This has been their game plan all year. This isn't the Phillies in that they have a lot of aggressive hitters that can get themselves out, and the Mets executed that game plan perfectly. Well, the Dodgers are second in the majors in walks and one of the best teams as far as chase rate is concerned. I forget at what point in the game this was, but Ken Rosenthal read the stat that of the 27 pitches the Mets have thrown out of the strike zone so far, the Dodgers have only swung at 2 of them. And that is a recipe for disaster. And that's why I'm very concerned about the Jose Quintana start later in this series. Look, I forget who said this to me, and I wish I could give you credit, but there's 2 things that I come out of this genuinely concerned, but then 2 very easy pivots to get me ready for game 2. The first thing is, what do you get out of Senga out of the rest of the series? And I know this was controversial on Twitter.com. Or I guess it's now X.com, but I'm never calling it that. But if you first guessed whether or not they should have started Senga and wanted them to start Minaya, kudos to you because it looks like the right move. If you're second guessing the result, I mean, that's just the worst way to evaluate anything, let alone sports. You look like someone looking to speak to the manager, as far as I'm concerned. But Senga didn't have it in the result. The result absolutely frustrated me too. And what is his impact the rest of the series? I don't trust him to start game 5 at this point. The process that I'm okay with is you need a guy that generates swings and misses and those strikes. And if you're able to get that from Senga in game 1, once or twice through the order, then that sets you up even further down the line with Minaya game 2, Severino game 3, and so on. And honestly, maybe the Quintana start scares them as much as it scares me, which is why I'm probably more okay with them going to Senga in game 1. Him doing this, I don't think anybody that was pessimistic about this start or thought it was a gamble thought we were getting this, now worries you even more so in this series about what he can give you. And if you're thinking, well, David Peterson could start game 5, David Peterson in 2 1/3 innings gave up 3 runs on 4 hits in that spot. And shout out to the Dodgers who gave him an out by bunting, a sacrifice bunt in 2024. Who knew those still existed? But look, if you first guessed it, then it clearly looks like the wrong move. And Mendoza, I mean, and crew have to live with that being the stat. The thing I was saying, I wish I knew who told me this, was the layoff and whether that might have shut things off a little bit. I think about it. They went from surviving a hurricane in Atlanta to get to Milwaukee, to playing 3 games in Milwaukee, to go back to Atlanta for a day to play twice and celebrate, to go back to Milwaukee to play 3 games in 3 days, including an early start time in game 1, a celebration at the end of game 3, on the road again to Philadelphia, where you have 1 off day and then a 4 o'clock start. You play 2 games at 4, then you're back home in New York for the first time in weeks. Then you're playing a 4 o'clock on Tuesday, a 4 o'clock on, or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on Tuesday, a 5 o'clock on Wednesday. You have no time to think. You're just playing baseball. You're running on fumes, and there's no slowing down. And you have this emotional win in game 4, the first clinching win at Citi Field ever. And then you got nothing for 3 days. You settle down, you detox, you relax, you exhale. And it is natural to potentially come out flat in LA 3 days later. Again, I wish I remember who told me. I'd give you credit, but they looked flat tonight as an entire crew, offensively, defensively, like making knucklehead plays we haven't seen from them over the past couple weeks during this run. Obviously from an execution standpoint, from the pitching staff, as well as at the plate, there wasn't really like great at-bats tonight. Now, part of that is just the Dodgers throwing strikes and getting the Mets out, but, you know, this is why the layoff has to concern you. As somebody who remembers the 2015 World Series, how flat they looked in game 1 of that series as well, you know, it concerns you. The easy pivot is that it's 1 game. It's 1 game. The Dodgers could have won 19-0. They could have won 900-0. They would be up 1 game in the series. So if you predicted them to win in 6 or 7, even if you predicted them to win in 5, they had to lose at least once. And then the other very easy silver lining is that it's a quick turnaround tomorrow, and so them being back on fumes exists. And as much as they were dealt a knockout blow early on tonight, this team, anytime they've been knocked down, they've never really been knocked out. So you have to trust what you've seen from this team every time they've been in a situation where you're thinking, here's the time that the Mets show up and the time that the season and this joyride is gonna be over. They've responded. And so I'm believing in that version of this team, that they're gonna respond tomorrow. That's the therapeutic advice I would give you, that after a tough game 1 loss, they're going to respond, be like, all right, flush it. This isn't our best game. Let's come out with our best game in game 2. You know what? Anybody that was saying Manaea should have started game 1 because it's an important game, well, here's an actual important game in game 2, because you don't want to go down 0-2 in this series. So you have your ace, your best pitcher, starting the most important game of the season, or one of the most important games of the season in game 2. That's all I got. Joe Davis is annoying. That's the only other thing I got. But he's the Dodgers home broadcaster, so I don't doubt that I'm gonna eventually hate him. I think he's like a good broadcaster, and usually when I'm not watching my team against his hometown team, I have no issues. But I think he's annoying, like very annoying. Like if I hear one more time about where Jack Flaherty grew up, I'm gonna just throw my TV out the window. But that's really all I got. Let's get back in game 2. Let's go Mets.